Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, this is Redberry Wheel here, and welcome back to another Civil Air Patrol video. In today's video, I am talking about strategic planning, and if you are not familiar with strategic planning, that's okay. I'll be going over what a strategic plan is, steps to create one, and stuff that I have learned along the way. If you have missed my Mission Vision Command Intent video, it is linked right up here, and it is a good resource for you to check out first before you watch this video. So let's go ahead and get started. Strategic planning is essentially long-term, where should the organization be several years from now? So you've got your tactical, operational, and strategic levels of leadership, which I have talked about previously in my Leadership Matrix video, which is also linked up here. And with the strategic level, that is like the overarching big picture, where do we want the organization going? Tactical is more of like, what are the things that we need to be doing right now with our people? Like, we should be shining our boots or teaching a class right now and learning in this lesson, all of that kind of stuff. So the strategic plan is something that is done on the command team strategic level, and like, it is highly recommended that squadrons at least come up with a strategic plan that is inspired by and like is pulling directly from the wings level of strategic planning. And if there isn't a wing level one immediately available, then going to the region levels, and if not the region levels, then the national level strategic plan. And within the strategic plan, there's an overall goal that you're trying to accomplish. So let's say that's ES engagement, or maybe that's SUAS and aerospace education, cybersecurity with Cyber Patriots, anything like that. So those overall categories, they could be more specific to the main missions of Civil Air Patrol or like the contact areas that you have with cadets, but just make sure that your overall goals are aligned with your chain of commands strategic goals, because if you aren't aligned with their strategic goals and they're the next chain up, then that means you may not necessarily be helping them reach their strategic goals, which at the end of the day, that's what you should be working towards. So that's just something to keep in mind. So you've got your overall goal, so let's say aerospace education, and then your objectives within each of those might be like engaging the community with aerospace related activities. I don't know if that's necessarily in your wings strategic plan, but let's say there was an objective like that. Then you would take tasks that are associated with that, so maybe local outreach to middle schools, being in contact with the local government and trying to establish a relationship with them, and you'd use like your government relations person for that, and like working actively to create a list of things that your squadron can do to take steps towards meeting what's called metrics, or things that are measurable to see if we are actually succeeding in those things or not. And with that strategic plan, there might be like a specific percentage of members that we want to accomplish something. Like, let's say we want 33% of all the cadets in our unit, like our home unit, to complete their STEM badge. Then that goes into the metrics, and we can see in like the command dashboard and e-services all of that information, and that's only really available for senior members. So if you're a cadet and you want to be able to see those metrics, I highly suggest you request some of the data points and saying, hey, like, do we have information on how many cadets who have completed this, or anything like that. That might help you when you are developing a strategic plan. If you're developing a strategic plan and you're a cadet, please make sure you're communicating with your squadron commander and your CDC, because the CDC and the squadron commander should be involved with planning a strategic plan, because most squadrons are composite, and even if they aren't, and you're in a cadet squadron, let's say, the commander should definitely be involved with that long-term plan, because their term is for 4 years. Like that's the term that squadron commanders typically serve. And if they're going to be there for 4 years, then they can watch that change over time. Cadets, don't necessarily stay for all 4 years in a commander's term. Sometimes they graduate, sometimes they just leave, and for whatever reason that may be, that's fine. But the squadron commander is supposed to be that continuity over time, and then be able to have it passed on to the next commander. So when I was developing the strategic plan most recently with my squadron, we first started by looking at the Wings strategic plan and Nationals strategic plan. And we took elements from the Wings and we put it into an Excel spreadsheet, and we had each of our goals, the objectives, the tasks associated with them, and the metrics. And by dividing it into those categories, it makes it clean and neat in an Excel spreadsheet. Now, the way that they had sent it out to us was in a Word document, which was a little bit harder for me to digest personally, but being able to see it in an Excel spreadsheet, and I could be like, are we meeting these goals, and just be able to go down that list, it's helpful for me. So that was just a technique that we had used as a team. And so another part of it is that we had our cadets in the unit investigate the Nationals strategic plan and kind of give their take on how our squadron fits into that national strategic plan. And quite a few of the cadets, they provided their insights, and they were like, here are tasks that our squadron can personally do in order to meet these strategic goals. And these goals we may not necessarily be able to meet, but we can at least be knowledgeable of those goals and try to at least start getting involved with them. Like, the SUAS program is relatively new-ish, and not everyone across the country has resources or people who are pilots to control remotely piloted aircraft. So by saying that we would like to do that, if we had someone who is qualified, maybe even making a goal of getting at least one person qualified, these are all good things that we should consider when putting together a strategic plan. Another part of the strategic plan is that we want it to be improving the squadron in the long term, and like we are reaching high and trying to attain solid goals. But we also want to make sure that, generally speaking, they are attainable. And it could be that, like, right now we have 25% of our main cadet corps going to encampment, and in 5 years we would like to see that at 40%. That might be a realistic jump, because maybe before the cadets weren't really interested, they weren't really going to wing level activities because they didn't have the resources to do it. Whatever reason that may be, we can try to investigate those reasons and try to overcome them by educating, by providing transportation, at least like post-COVID, and being able to share vehicles again, being able to provide rides, and get all of them excited about that and have them set their own individual goals of like, here's when I want to go to encampment, rather than just saying, hey, you should go to encampment. Ask them, when are you going to encampment? When would you like to go? And let's write that down somewhere so that we can keep track of your goals and follow up later on, because following up is always a good thing to do. So I do highly recommend putting together a strategic plan with the command team in your unit if there isn't currently one. And I have heard a counter argument that, like, during COVID, we shouldn't put together a strategic plan. It's not important anymore because it's so different from how things normally are. And that is true to a certain extent, but you still want to retain members. And if members aren't attending virtual meetings versus in-person meetings, it doesn't make them any less important. And figuring out how we can get members more engaged, even through a virtual platform, is key to retaining them in the long term. So strategic planning is very useful as a tool for a commander to be able to track the progress that the squadron is making and ensure that we are reaching the goals of Civil Air Patrol in general. So that's all I wanted to say for strategic planning. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments down below. Thank you for watching to the end of this video. And that is all, folks. Until next time, toodles!